What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. I'm Michigan Sports Talk here, and in this one we got the Michigan vs Minnesota preview as the number 2 ranked Wolverines go on the road at night against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. In this one we're going to be going over everything you guys need to know about this matchup, including the keys to the game for both teams, plus key players to look out for. We also got some injury updates heading into the game, and I'm going to be giving my prediction to the game. It's all going to be in this video and more, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so coming into this one, Michigan ranked number 2. They are 5-0. 2-0 in conference play. Minnesota, on the other hand, 3-2 on the year and 1-1 in conference play. Right now, the spread is Michigan favored to win by 19 points in this one. And according to ESPN's matchup predictor, Michigan has an 87.1% chance to win. Minnesota, a 12.9% chance to win. Now, this will be the 105th meeting between Michigan and Minnesota, and Michigan holds a 76-25-3 record in the all-time series against Minnesota, and they've also won 25 of the last 27 games played against Minnesota. They have won 3 straight against them, the last one coming in 2020, where Michigan beat Minnesota in the first game of the season 49-24 on the road. So obviously coming into this one, Michigan undefeated on the season. You look at their schedule, they beat East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and then in Big Ten play, they beat Rutgers 31-7, and they beat Nebraska 45-7 last weekend in a dominant victory. One of the best performances of the season for Michigan, as it was their first road game. And on the other hand, you look at Minnesota, as they barely escaped a win against Nebraska right at the beginning of the year. They won it 13-10, and they beat Eastern Michigan 25-6. They lost to North Carolina 31-13, and they lost in overtime to Northwestern 37-34. And last weekend they played Louisiana and they beat them 35-24. So they are coming off of a win, but they haven't had the best of seasons. Now we will preview both offenses and defenses, but I first want to talk about some statistics for both teams, and we'll start first with total defense, as Michigan right now ranks 4th among all FBS teams, only allowing 245.8 yards per game. And then scoring defense, Michigan ranks number 1, only allowing 30 points all season and an average of 6 points per game. As all of Michigan's opponents that they've played, Michigan, their defense has held them to 7 or fewer points in all 5 games. I mean, this defense is one of the best, if not the best, in college football right now. Michigan also leads number 1 in red zone defense, as they've only allowed their opponent 8 times in the red zone, and only once did they score a touchdown, and they have allowed 2 field goals in the red zone. And Minnesota's defense, they rank 44th in scoring defense, as they've allowed 108 points by their opponents and 21.60 points on average per game. And then total defense, they rank number 60, allowing 361.4 yards per game. So there is a huge gap between Michigan and Minnesota's defense statistically. You know, Michigan, they definitely have the better team. They have the better defense, the better offense, probably better at everything than Minnesota coming into this game. Now, one thing for Michigan and their offense, Michigan is the least penalized team in the country, as they've only been penalized 13 times, and they have the fewest penalty yards per game of any team with 18.60 yards per game. So they do not shoot themselves in the foot with penalties. Minnesota, though, they also do a pretty good job. They rank 5th in fewest penalty yards per game with only 28.20 yards per game. So those are some statistics for you guys. But now let's go ahead and preview Minnesota's offense and defense, and we'll first start with the offense. So their quarterback is Ethan Kaliakmanis, but on the season he has 745 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions with a 65 quarterback rating. He's had an alright season. It is his 3rd year. Now, Minnesota has kind of relied on their rushing attack. They haven't really passed it too much in their last couple of games, and Michigan, they stopped the run pretty dang good. So if Minnesota wants any chance in this one, Ethan Kaliakmanis is first off can't make any mistakes, and he's gonna have to be on point with his receivers. As far as Minnesota's rushing attack, they have right now an injured Darius Taylor on the season. He has 87 carries, 532 yards, and 4 touchdowns. However, I'm pretty sure right now he is doubtful to play against Michigan, so that'll be a huge loss for him. They didn't have him last week either, as he got injured against Northwestern. I do have Zach Evans, who is the reigning Big Ten Freshman of the Week. He's a bigger back. They also have Sean Tyler, who is a Western Michigan transfer, who is a more speedy back for Minnesota. So look for Zach Evans and Sean Tyler for Minnesota's rushing game, as Darius Taylor is doubtful. And looking out the wide receiver room for Minnesota, first guy is Daniel Jackson, who's coming off a 2-touchdown performance last week on the season. He has 20 receptions, 252 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Minnesota also has the Western Michigan transfer Corey Crooms, who has been really good for Minnesota in the slot. Those are their 2 main wide receiver threats. They also have their tight end Brevin Spann-Ford. So while Minnesota's offense, hasn't been that great this year, I do expect Michigan's defense to have another outstanding game against them. And looking at Minnesota's defense, they have been pretty good at stopping the run. However, their past 3 games, they have allowed a lot of passing yards, which has allowed to the last 3 weeks 2 30-plus points allowed against North Carolina and Northwestern, and then 24 points allowed to Louisiana. Now, Maverick Baranowski leads Minnesota with 35 tackles on the season, and then in the secondary, Tyler Nubin has 3 interceptions on the season for Minnesota's defense. So that's a little overview on Minnesota's offense and defense. And then you have Michigan coming into this one, their best performance against Nebraska. First off, on their offense, J.J. McCarthy has 1,071 passing yards and 10 touchdowns with 3 interceptions on the season, and he leads every quarterback in the FBS with a 94.2 quarterback rating. He has been very, very good, and if it wasn't for the Bowling Green game, he would have 0 interceptions on the season. I do expect, JJ McCarthy to keep running the ball, keep using his mobility, and also just keep slinging that thing to one in particular receiver, Roman Wilson, who right now leads the NCAA in receiving touchdowns with 8. Michigan, they also have Cornelius Johnson, 2 seniors on the team. Michigan also just got back Darius Clements, who had a pretty good game against Nebraska, as he had 2 receptions for 29 yards. He just came off of an injury, so it's good to have him back. And Michigan also has Tyler Morris and their tight ends, A.J. Barner and Colston Loveland. Also, Michigan's offensive line coming off a fantastic game, definitely their best of the season. In Michigan, they have that 1-2 punch of Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, who Blake Corum actually has 9 rushing touchdowns on the season, and he is 1 away of tying Mike Hart with 41 career rushing touchdowns. Right now, Blake Corum ranks 5th in Michigan history. And then on the defensive side, we've read the statistics. Michigan's defense is just outstanding. Although some injuries to keep an eye out, Mike Sainristil has been banged up, as he was limited in snaps against Nebraska last week, so he may be limited in snaps again in this one against Minnesota. And also, Rod Moore is still working through his injury. He may be limited in snaps as well. But we do got some good news, as Mason Graham should be back against Minnesota. So that is some good news for Michigan, as they will be returning one of their best, if not the best, defensive tackle that they have. So that'll just make Michigan's defense and defensive line even scarier. So I think some keys to the game: first off, for Minnesota, it's really just don't make mistakes and don't give free points to Michigan. It's already going to be a tough battle for you. Don't want to give Michigan any freebies in this one. And on the defensive side for them, they have to find a way, to force turnovers. Also, they're going to try to run the ball. I'm sure early on it's probably not going to work. So on offense for them, they're going to have to probably throw the ball a little bit more, because Michigan's rush defense is very, very good. As for Michigan, the keys to the game: defensively, you gotta stop Minnesota's run. If you stop their run and force Kaliakmanis to throw the ball, I think you'll be setting yourself up for success in this one. And on the offensive side, I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. Also, throw the ball to your playmakers like Roman Wilson, and mainly, you know, just don't make mistakes, don't make any turnovers, and just keep moving and grooving like they were against Nebraska. We might actually see JJ McCarthy throw the ball a little bit more in this one, as Minnesota's run defense is good. However, we said that last week with Nebraska, as they came in with one of the best rushing defenses in the nation, and Michigan ran for over 200 rushing yards on them. So with that, let's go ahead, give my score predictions. I do want to hear your guys' predictions for this game. Leave them in the comment section, what you guys think will happen in this game and what your guys' keys are to this game. For me, I'm gonna go 38-3 Michigan, and yes, they will cover the spread. I just think Michigan is gonna completely dominate Minnesota in this one, but it is a night road game. Could be a tough challenge, but you know, I just don't think Minnesota has it in them. You know, maybe they can keep it close by halftime, but Michigan, they will eventually prevail. But other than that, that is gonna wrap up today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure you guys go ahead, drop a like, comment down below, and subscribe for more if you are new around here. I greatly appreciate it. But other than that, we will see you guys in the next video. Go Blue.